back to another episode of Financial Minds Meet the Experts. I'm Jaime Agostino, your host. On this podcast, we're joined by financial industry experts to talk about topics, trends, and themes that credit union professionals need to know about. Today, I am sitting down with Paige Barry, the VP of Strategic Partnerships with DefenseStorm. Paige, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I'm so glad to be back.
Yes. So Paige, would you mind reminding our audience about how DefenseStorm helps credit unions?
It would be my pleasure. DefenseStorm has been around for about 10 years and working with credit unions. We understand the unique operating challenges that credit unions have to deal with day in and day out. Those things include protection of their valuable assets, operating complex technologies, keeping up with burdensome regulations, consistently increasing efficiency, and probably more important than all of those, or maybe like the umbrella, would be serving the fiduciary responsibilities that they have to their members. And so when DefenseStorm started as a company 10 years ago, we looked around and didn't see anyone serving credit unions solely in terms of providing cyber risk management solutions. We saw a lot of big players in the market that were multi-industry, and our founders wanted to create a platform that was tailored specifically for financial institutions. So what we have today is a platform, we call it Grid Active, and that platform offers credit unions a single place where they can execute their risk assessments. They can create tasks and task schedules to keep up with the various governance frameworks. They can implement fraud prevention, very, very important. And then really what underpins all of it is a threat surveillance solution that is supported by our fully US-based 7x24x365 security operations team. So using a single platform for cyber risk management enables credit unions to be threat ready, to be audit and exam ready, and even board ready by integrating all those solutions into a single platform.
Wow. And, hearing you say all of that, I knew all of that, but hearing you say it again, it's like, wow, that's a lot. And obviously Viso Financial does have a strategic partnership with DefenseStorm as well. So I understand that DefenseStorm has recently released a bundled solution set to help smaller credit unions increase their cyber risk management programs. And I believe it's called DefenseStorm Essentials. So what's included in that program?
We are so excited about DefenseStorm Essentials. So I've had the privilege of working at DefenseStorm for 6.5 years. And I would say at least for half of that time, the question, and we've talked to Viso Financial Corporate Credit Union about this. We've talked to our current credit union customers and even industry experts about how can we serve smaller credit unions. Because smaller credit unions are, two things. One, they face the same threat actors. They're targeted just as much as the larger credit unions, and the regulatory expectations are usually the same for smaller credit unions as they are for the larger ones. That said, smaller credit unions are challenged by having fewer resources. That could be financial resources, as well as fewer people to do the information technology and information security work. So in our 10 years actually going on 11 years of experience, we looked at, well, what does a credit union need at its most basic level? What do they need to be cyber risk ready? And what we found is that they need infrastructure, log collection, and analysis for their network, for their domain controllers, for their email platforms. They need 24 by 7 by 365 threat surveillance using industry experts with industry reviewed certifications. They need vulnerability management. They need to be able to look across their entire infrastructure, even if it's being managed by a technology service provider. They need to look across all of their infrastructure to ensure that it's properly patched. They need their endpoints monitored so that any endpoint, it could be a laptop, it could be a desktop, it could even be an ATM, that those endpoints remain secure, and any endpoint that is suspected to be compromised can be quarantined. And then overall, they need a co-managed support model. They need to know that every time something goes bump, or if there's suspicious activity, that they can pick up the phone and they can talk to somebody who is certified with lots of experience, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, someone who's going to be there for them and help explain what's going on, how serious is it, and what steps need to be taken in order to mitigate those risks.
Yeah, it's very exciting. So thank you for all of those details. So yeah, I mean, you said it. These smaller credit unions do have limited resources, and those limited resources come in a variety of ways. So it sounds like you guys really, hit all the key pieces there. So how does using the Essentials package then help credit unions with governance task and the evidence collection?
Yeah, using disparate tools and bridging your staff, a credit union bridging their limited staff alongside maybe a managed service provider, it can make evidence collection really difficult. And what we see, and this is true for credit unions of all sizes, is sometimes evidence collection is relegated to those days and hours that immediately precede an audit or exam. Well, using our platform, everything in the platform, the risk assessments, the alerts for threat surveillance and for fraud prevention, everything in the platform is already mapped to multiple governance frameworks. So just by using the platform and using DefenseStorm's 7 by 24 hour cybersecurity operations team, everything that happens can then be exported as evidence with just a couple of clicks. And that could be if a credit union is using either CIS or NIST, or even the RAS frameworks. The platform contains numerous governance frameworks, and all the mapping is already done. The governance module also provides a credit union the ability to create tasks and task schedules. So if you think that it's something kind of simple, a credit union needs to review the access that their employees have to different applications. Maybe they probably also need to look at entitlements across credit union employees. Those can change from time to time. Well, all of those tasks can be set up and then assigned, set up in the system, in the Grid Active platform, assigned to the right people. And then if for some reason that individual is out on vacation or out sick, the system reminds that person and can even remind that person's management that that task needs to be done. It helps keep that governance compliance activity to be more regular, more frequent without it being overbearing. And that way, governance, preparation for an audit or an exam doesn't take near as much time. And again, it's a couple of clicks and your evidence report is available either in an Excel document or in a PDF.
Okay. Well, talking about reports, all credit unions, they need dashboards and reports, for their steering committees, their executive management and regulators. What type of dashboards and reporting is available in the platform?
So in the Grid, when you log into the Grid Active platform, one of the very first things you see is a cyber risk management dashboard. And so it is a one screen glance. It's got red, yellow, and green metrics. So anyone at the credit union, the information security officer, or the CEO, the VP of operations, anyone with access to the platform can look at that cyber risk management dashboard and see overall, how are we doing overall with our cyber risk management program? And then beneath that, the Grid Active platform includes a fairly sizable dashboard library. And so what we've done is we've developed that library over time, and it's not static. We continue to add new dashboards all the time. And when a credit union, anyone at a credit union pulls up one of those dashboards, they're actually pretty nice to look at. They're colorful, and 2 clicks, just 2 clicks, and any credit union employee can export those dashboards into a PDF, a PowerPoint document, or even an Excel file. So that gives the credit union the flexibility to integrate those charts and graphs in the reports that they've probably already developed for use with their auditors, their examiners, their board, and their senior leadership. And then in addition to the dashboards that are in the library, credit unions can customize their own dashboards and reports strictly by going into like our library of visualizations and doing a bunch of dragging and dropping. It's very, very intuitive, very quick and easy.
All right. So how does a credit union qualify for the DefenseStorm Essential Solution Set?
The DefenseStorm Essentials package, and again, it's threat surveillance plus EDR or endpoint detection response plus vulnerability management, all wrapped around with our 7x24-hour US-based security operations team. The way they qualify for essentials is they have up to $200 million in assets under management. It was also created for credit unions with 50 employees or fewer and up to 5 locations, be that offices, branches, or any combination. Any credit union that maybe they meet 2 of those criteria, but maybe not the third, we'd be happy to talk to them about what would be the right sizing set of solutions for them. But what's really nice is for the smaller credit unions that are, constrained with smaller teams, and maybe they're even spending money today on multiple solutions. This gives them a more predictable, lower cost, bringing all those most critical components for cyber risk management into one package.
Okay. All right. So sometimes, credit unions will wait to make investments in new technologies until regulators require it. So what would you say to a credit union about why it is important to stay ahead of the dynamic threat landscape?
Oh, what a great question, Jaime. And I'm so glad you asked it. So we see this a lot when we talk to smaller credit unions. Unfortunately, we hear, well, until the regulators tell us we need to do it, we don't have time. We don't have the people. It's too expensive. Implementing a cyber risk management program with the right tools, with the right capabilities, is the cornerstone of a credit union's operational and financial resilience. And waiting for a regulatory mandate can leave a credit union vulnerable because, as I mentioned, the cyber criminals, they're aware that smaller credit unions are constrained in resources, which makes them, in some regards, even a better target than the larger credit unions. And in the threat landscape today, what we're seeing is innovation at a rate of speed that's mind blowing. You know, the cyber criminals are using artificial intelligence to make their attacks more stealth, more successful. I think we're all aware of the deep fake technologies that are available today, and the thought of that there's technology. I've always considered technology such a positive word, but when you think of what's going on with deep fakes and how it is making credit union members more vulnerable, right? Using their image and using their voice in order to steal data and to steal money. And then, of course, there's supply chain attacks. You know, credit union has to worry about every single third party that they work with and all the software that they use to operate the credit union. So having proactive cyber risk management tools are critical today. So I'm aware that some credit unions wait till the regulators tell them they have to. But what happens when a smaller credit union says, I don't have the time, I don't have the people, I don't have the resources, and their vulnerability increases? What happens is it puts the credit union in a position where they could lose trust by their members. And I think anyone who's worked for a credit union, who has done business with a credit union, who has served a credit union as a technology provider, a credit union provides a community of trust. Trust is essential to that credit union member relationship. And so putting that relationship in jeopardy by not investing in tools could potentially cost a credit union a reputation. Long term, it could cause member attrition. And if we go from the negative to the positive, right? Credit unions that are innovators who make the investment in the tools that they need to have a good foundational cyber risk management program, it makes them more competitive, right? Because I know if I'm shopping for a new credit union, I want to know, like, how are you going to keep my information and my funds on deposit safe from the cyber criminals? So I think for a small credit union, for them to choose this essentials package, it not only protects them from the negative impact to their reputation should a breach occur, but it also has the potential to make them more competitive in their market.
Yeah. Well, as you were talking, about this positive investment, how does DefenseStorm help credit unions make implementing essentials an ROI positive investment?
So a couple different ways. I had the privilege for the first 4 years that I worked at DefenseStorm. I had the privilege of leading all of our delivery teams, and I was part of designing and scaling our onboarding process. And a credit union, even one that is constrained with resources, can implement the essentials package in about 6 to 8 weeks and with only a few hours a week of effort. And DefenseStorm has aligned what we call our onboarding process to the resource availability and the resource skill set available at the credit union. So once implemented, we believe that a couple things are going to happen for the credit union who selects the essentials package. One is they're going to have less manual work just in the audit preparation, governance reporting alone. They're going to save time. The other thing is by consolidating tools into a single platform, what we've seen, our experience with credit unions has been that we help them reduce the amount of false positives. And by doing that, they're going to save time. The other thing that I think is really compelling for credit unions is that separation of duties between their managed service provider and the technology partner that they choose to do their cybersecurity monitoring and incident management. I think all too often, smaller credit unions with really small internal teams, they rely, and as they should, they rely on managed service providers to manage their email platforms or manage their core, their digital banking, manage their server and network infrastructure. That said, the credit union is ultimately responsible for the security of all of their technology providers. So having that separation between your managed service provider operating your technology and then a separate provider monitoring the threats against that environment is just a more mature way of operating infrastructure. So less time preparing for audits and exams, less time preparing for updates to the IT steering committee or the board of directors, fewer false positives. All of these create increased efficiency for credit union.
Wow, this all sounds great. It's so thrilled to see that you guys, developed a solution tailored to these small credit unions. And so I have to ask, what motivated DefenseStorm to create this bundle of solutions for these smaller financial institutions?
What we found in approaching credit unions that with assets less than 200 million, what we heard a lot is we don't have enough people to implement this. We have too many conflicting priorities. We already have a managed service provider that does this for us. So listening to the initial objections of a conversation with DefenseStorm, what we were seeing is that we were seeing credit unions that we knew needed this set of solutions, but weren't prepared or couldn't acquire them. And to be honest, a lot of it was price. And so we've worked very, very hard to increase the efficiency of our own solutions, of our own services, so that we could lower the cost for smaller credit unions, and in partnership with CrowdStrike, bring them to other solutions, endpoint detection response and vulnerability management included in this essentials package. So I'll tell you, Jaime, we've been working on this for years because we wanted to find a way to serve smaller credit unions, again, helping them become cyber risk ready before the regulators tell them they have to be.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Any final thoughts for our listeners today, Paige?
Just that I hope that they're interested in learning more. I have had the privilege of working with financial institutions for over 20 years, and there's nothing I like more than talking to credit unions about what they're doing in the area of cyber risk management, talking about the ever-changing threat landscape. So any credit union, any of your members that would like to learn more, know more, I would welcome that conversation.
All right. Well, Paige, thank you again for joining me today. Really appreciate you taking the time. This episode of Financial Minds is brought to you by our partner, DefenseStorm. The new world is a cyber one, full of online transactions, technology-based data, and virtual communications. These things certainly make for far more streamlined and convenient operations, but they also open the door to cyber threats, aka major risks for credit unions. And what do you need when an enemy comes to your doorstep, or in this case, your screen? You need a good defense strategy. And that's why Viso Financial teamed up with DefenseStorm, a financial institution's cyber risk management solutions provider, to help credit unions build those strategies and enforce them through security and fraud services. To learn more about DefenseStorm Essentials, fraud prevention, risk assessment, threat surveillance services available through this partnership, contact your corporate account manager or visit Viso Financial's website at www.vfccu.org. As always, thanks for listening and make it a great day.